All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Sports Drive. I am your host, Ian. Along with me today is my co-host, Tanner, and our special guest, the Mad Fanatic. How we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Mad Fanatic, welcome to our show.
What's
It's
going
a
on? Thanks for having me.
pleasure to have you. I have been following your music, following your posts and stuff on Facebook now for about a year and a half. I loved your diss track against John Gruden, man. I thought that was great.
Thanks.
Why don't you give us your thoughts about Monday night's game?
I think we got a tough game. Obviously the Steelers' run defense looked ridiculously good against Saquon. So I think we're gonna have to pass the ball a lot. But I'm excited because I'm hearing Courtney's gonna play. I'm hearing KJ's gonna play. I'm even hearing Albert O might play. So I think it's gonna be the first time we get to really see that high octane offense the Broncos have now. So I'm excited to see how we play. I think our defense is a stout defense that can stop the run, that can play the pass pretty well. I'm a little concerned about not having AJ Bouye. But other than that, I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm glad we don't have to deal with the terrible towels and all those fans in Pittsburgh. And I expect the Broncos to win like I always do.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that we can't be in Denver right now cheering on our boys when they're home, but
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing I think we can do is just continue to support the guys from afar. People have to realize that this team is a work in progress.
Right.
Your new song about Drew Lock, I think is dope, dude. Congratulations on the new song.
Thanks.
Looking forward to more music from you. What are your thoughts on Vic Fangio? Do you like him as a coach?
I don't know. I'm still. I think he's a decent coach. Obviously, a lot of people are pretty upset about not calling timeout. Like just way overthinking the situation when it was like pretty common sense. Just call the timeouts. Give your team some time in case they score. But like he said, he initially tried to make excuses and say, "Well, I was thinking we don't want to give them enough time to get closer." That was his first answer, which was dumb. Then he backpedaled from it and said, "Yo, I was just thinking about what I was calling on defense. My bad." I would rather him said that off in the beginning. But overall, I think that he's still learning. I mean, he's been a head coach for one full season and one game. And in my opinion, I feel like I didn't like that he said he wasn't going to bring on somebody to handle like timeouts and clock management and replays. I feel like he should do that. As a lot of head coaches, they're just coaching. They're not calling the defense and coaching. That's a lot to handle, plus timeouts and clock management. I think it's valuable to assign someone else to do that so that you can focus on the defense. Because he's an incredible defensive coordinator. But when you've been a D coordinator for 30 years in the NFL, it's hard to keep your head coach hat on, like first and foremost. Like as a head coach, I got to manage this clock first before I even think about what I'm calling on defense. So I would like to see him bring in somebody. I didn't like that he seems like not open to the idea. It seems like a pride thing. Like ego might be getting in the way. But overall, I think he's a pretty good coach. I wouldn't fire him because he lost the game. I'll tell you that much.
I 100% agree with you. Tanner, do you have any questions?
No, not really. I think you guys pretty much hit everything I was going to ask.
So are you into fantasy football?
I used to be into fantasy football, but outside of 2013, I pretty much am like the worst person in my league every year because all I pick is Broncos. Like my whole team is the Denver Broncos. So like the bye week is always a loss. And then like if the Broncos don't have a great showing on offense, which they haven't had for the last few years, I'm just terrible. But 2013, I was in the championship with all Broncos.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you though, 2020 with our Broncos, man, I wish 2020 was over already.
Oh yeah, you don't think we're gonna do anything this year?
Well, it's not that I don't think we're gonna do anything, but losing Von Miller hurt, man.
Yeah, but he might come back for the playoffs, and it's a
Yeah,
great opportunity for Malik Reed and Jeremiah Tachu and DeMarcus Walker and a lot of other people to really do their thing. And you got back Bradley Chubb too, so I think we're
yeah.
gonna be okay.
So what happened to Mark Barron? I thought he was supposed to be something with this team.
I think you're gonna let him play on some dime packages. He's really gonna be like a coverage linebacker for us in situations that are obvious passing downs. He probably didn't get a lot of burn week one because we knew the focus was gonna be running the ball. So you want to keep Josie in there. You want to keep Ryan Dino in there the whole time. So, and which they did a great job, by the way. Josie Jewell balled out. I was really, really impressed with how he played, and Dino was everywhere he was supposed to be. The defense looked solid, man.
Yeah,
Jeremiah got a sack week one. It was a coverage sack, but shout out to him.
yeah.
Nicely.
I mean, I like I said. I mean, I still believe this. I believe in the Broncos. I always have. I always will. I was at the game last year when they played Jacksonville, and it was a tough loss for them.
Yeah, one of many last year. He had a lot of close ones last year
Yeah,
that really, really stung.
yeah.
That's why
But
this one felt so bad. That's why I think the first loss, losing that kind of in similar fashion with the field goal at the end, mismanaging the timeouts, the drop pass on the third down, which probably would have like we could have stayed in our 4-minute offense and probably won that game. It's tough when little things like that happen. I really think the momentum changed when Melvin Gordon fumbled the ball. That was like we had all the momentum and that kind of messed us up. But that game had a chance to be like a blowout before that.
go figure, though. Melvin Gordon fumbling the football.
Yeah. Yep. That's why sometimes it's hard to say, man. You're gonna give that guy $7 more million than Lindsey, who never fumbled. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, and the thing about Lindsey, man, is he's a scrapper. That's why I have so much respect for the guy.
One thing kind of concerns me with Lindsey, though, he's always getting hurt. These injuries are starting to pile up. It's like, man, when you're that little, you're kind of fragile. you know? You just,
yeah, but that wrist injury he had though was pretty brutal. So
yeah.
But
now it's a turf toe. Hopefully, just a couple weeks.
Yeah, I hope so, man. The guy's on my fantasy football team, so.
Oh man.
He was like my third pick, so.
Wow.
Yeah, but hey, we really appreciate you joining our show today, man. Like I said, send me the link to your the veterans for the feeding the veterans thing, and we'll put it in our post for you. And thanks for joining us. Hopefully you can join us again.
Hold on, Ian. Why don't you talk about it a little more? Tell people what it's all about.
Yeah, true.
All right, so I launched this platform called Cost 51. It's a lot like Patreon, where supporters donate to content creators to support the creation of their content so they can keep creating content. But where it's different from Patreon is the content creators then pledge to donate the majority of the money they receive to a cause bigger than themselves. 51% of all the money they receive, they donate to a cause they're passionate about. So they create content, and then the supporters donate to help them keep creating content, keep amplifying the message, and then they donate the majority of the money to a cause. So for my first campaign, Feed Our Vets, I'm donating 51% of the money to a cause that's important to me, which is feeding homeless veterans. For a long time, maybe the last 5 years or so, when I go to games, we would do a lot of Sack the Hunger events where we feed homeless people. But with COVID and everything not being able to travel, I had to try to find a new way to kind of have that same impact. And I found this dope organization, Feed Our Vets, which they feed homeless veterans in America. And for me, my father was a vet. I just feel like vets should not even be homeless, let alone homeless and hungry. So whatever I can to help raise awareness and money for that cause, I'm going to do. So I launched a campaign, Feed Our Vets, on my cause51.org website. And we've already raised a nice amount of money to start feeding some veterans. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing, man. My dad was a Vietnam vet as well. So, it really hits home for me too. So much respect and much love, and hopefully next year we can meet up for a Broncos game or something out in Colorado. So
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for being the first guest.
Peace.
See ya.
All right. Where do you want to start now?
So he's going to send me the link, and then I'll send it to you. You can just put it in the.
Yeah, I'll put the link down in the description, and then I'll also share it independently on a post on Facebook through our
Cool.
page. We can also individually promote it on our personal Facebook pages too. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yep.
Just because that's such a great cause to help donate to.
Right, and I believe, I believe in the cause, and I believe what he said, that no vet should be homeless and hungry. So,
Yep.
let's all donate to him. I think you and me together, we should set up like a Venmo, and then, I can send you money and you can donate. We can donate together. So,
Yeah.
let's help him out. He's a good dude. Took time out to come onto our show today. So
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that'd be a really good idea. We could even, if anybody wanted, they could also donate. We could also post our Venmo, and they could donate directly to us, and we could obviously donate those funds back to Fanatic as well.
yes, and I'll see if he has a Venmo after the show, and then maybe we can just Venmo the money to him, and he can put it towards us. So
yeah, I think that'd be a really good idea.
So week 2 in the NFL was coming up. Looks like we were able to get through week 1 with no issues COVID wise.
Only 2 players out of 2,000 something tested positive. Really good results, if you ask me. Obviously, not being in a bubble, it's going to be hard to avoid it. Only having 2 positive tests week 1 is huge for the NFL.
Right, and I 100% agree. Hopefully the season keep on rolling along. Vikings have a pretty good test on Sunday with the Indianapolis Colts. I believe that, Philip Rivers is going to do Philip Rivers things and, turn the ball over, especially if Minnesota can get to them defensively. Unique Ngakoue, if he can, get a little more acclimated with the system, I think he's going to wreak some havoc this week. So,
yeah, it's going to be tough. The Colts definitely have a much better offensive line than the Packers, but historically, the Vikings have had a lot of success against Philip Rivers and Philip Rivers-led teams. Just last year, for example, they absolutely dominated Philip Rivers. I believe that game was complete blowout. So many turnovers by Rivers. Ngakoue and Adenabo, they need to get pressure. We can't give Rivers all day to throw. They need to get back there, rush them, make them feel that they're there. You don't have to hit them every time. You just got to get pressure back there so he knows that they're there.
I agree 100%. And the Mad Fanatic was saying, Denver's got a tough test this week too, and the Pittsburgh Steelers and that defense. And Pittsburgh is, like we talked about, last episode. I believe, top 5 defense right now. Yes, it's week 1, but those guys have been together now for a couple of years, and.
Yeah.
If Ben Roethlisberger can come out and just, manage games and not have to put up, 30, 40 points a game, I think Pittsburgh's going to be a very tough team to beat. So,
Yeah, I think this game will be a true test for Drew Lock. Teams that have film on them now. That Pittsburgh Steelers defense obviously is no pushover. I think it'll be a really good test for Drew Lock and the Broncos offense.
right. And like Fanatic was saying, they're going to have to throw a lot more this week. That defense is ferocious when it comes to stopping the run. So,
Yeah, they're going to be – I mean, it's not going to be the same as it was last week where they're going to be daring the quarterback to throw. You guys obviously have a lot more weapons offensively than the Giants do. So, I mean, they could just hone in on Saquon Barkley and make Danny Dimes beat them, which he didn't do all that often. I don't know. I think you guys still come out on top, but I think it's going to be a pretty close one.
yeah, I agree. First Thursday night or was it second Thursday night football game last night?
Yes. In the second game, the Browns beat the Bengals a score of 30-35. Chubb and Kareem Hunt combined for 234 all-purpose yards. Burrow was 37-61 with 316 yards and 3 touchdowns. Surprising he could even do that behind that atrocity they call an offensive line. He's going to be running for his life all year, and if he keeps having to throw 60-plus times a game, pretty soon his arms are going to, fall off.
Yeah, they're going to have to pump him out because he's not going to be able to continue to throw 60, 61 times a game. So they got to figure something out with that offensive line, or he's going to be not one of those quarterbacks that get drafted first overall and end up getting hurt. So
Yeah.
They got to do something to protect him.
Well, I don't get why they aren't drawing up bootlegs with him. It's not like he's some statue slow quarterback. He's a pretty mobile quarterback. You could have him roll out. Yes, he's not Russell Wilson, but if you drop Russell Wilson style plays with him, he's going to succeed.
I agree 100%. He's no Tom Brady. I mean, at least he can, run the football with some speed and, take a hit and, move on from it. But, people's bodies can only take so much. I mean, Carson Wentz is the person to ask about that. I mean, the guy takes a hit from everybody. So,
yeah, I mean, look at Sunday. He just got, I think he was sacked 7 or 8 times, which doesn't help his cause.
I have a coworker who's an Eagles fan, and I had to make fun of him because his team lost to a Washington team that had no name.
All right, so the Broncos have said, well, I think it was Elway said that he's not concerned at all with Jerry Jeudy's drop issues on Monday, which I don't think there's really any cause for concern. I mean, yes, those should not have been dropped, obviously, but there's no real reason for concern.
Yeah, I saw that Drew Lock was saying something about it too. I'm not sure. I can't remember what he said, but
yeah, I don't remember what he said. I didn't see anything about it. Moving on. The Broncos have announced that Garrett Bowles has been playing. Well, he played all last week and is still expected to play Sunday despite suffering a sprained elbow in the first quarter on Monday.
oh well. I mean, they really don't have any more options at left tackle. I mean,
The Broncos have said that Philip Lindsay's turf toe injury isn't as severe as they thought. I'm guessing they were just being a little overly cautious with him, which is never a bad thing, but always good to hear that nothing severe.
yeah, and as much as this pains me to say, I really think they're trying to push him out of Denver, which is, sad because the guy's got, back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons, and he's a good running back. But I think they're trying to downplay his worth so he doesn't, so I don't know if they can try to re-sign him for less money next year or, just let him go, for nothing basically. Yep. So
yeah,
which would be sad, like I said, because Philip Lindsay, I like the guy. He's fast, he's elusive, he can catch a ball out of the backfield and make people miss. It'd just be sad if that's what Denver was trying to do with him.
Yeah, I believe that if he were to be forced out, I think there'd be a real market for him. Rams, Miami, they're both running back needy teams. I could see Houston going after him.
Yeah, I could see him ending up in Los Angeles with the Rams and doing very, very well with Sean McVay's offense. That would be the perfect place for him to go, I think. If Denver ended up letting him just walk. So
yeah, and then it was also announced today that the Broncos have finally added depth at linebacker. They signed former Steeler Anthony Chiquillo off of the Saints practice squad, and he'll be joining the team on Steelers week. I'm sure he'll be more or less kind of coaching the defense, providing insight on a Tomlin defense, ways to beat them.
Mike Tomlin's a tough coach to beat, man. He's got those guys working hard for him. So it's going to be a tough test for this team on Sunday. So
I've always said that the Vikings made a big mistake when they didn't hire Tomlin as a head coach.
I agree. Same thing with Denver.
I mean, they literally had him in their system as a coordinator, but instead they just let him walk.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier when the show started about Vic Fangio, he is, a coach who's been head coach for a year in a game. He's still kind of new to this, but I think Denver made a mistake in not going after Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I think Shanahan would have been perfect for Denver. Well, I think he would have been perfect anywhere. I don't know. I guess we'll never find out. I think Atlanta made a big mistake not hiring him, instead keeping I don't even know what their head coach's name is, Brian Quinn or whatever. Can't remember his name.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Seattle. It was Seattle's old defensive coordinator during the Legion of Boom days.
Yeah. Yeah, so moving on. NBA.
After the Celtics Game 2 loss, it was reported by someone at the Boston Globe that Marcus Smart, among other teammates, was heard yelling in the locker room, obviously out of frustration with the loss. When he left the locker room to go to the bathroom, he was heard yelling to his teammates, y'all on that bullshit. And even after he left, there was yelling. They're still yelling heard in the locker room. There's reports of items being thrown around in the locker room. Afterwards, forward center Enos Cantor was asked about it. He said it was a bunch of bullshit, and he denied everything. But Kemba Walker downplayed it, saying it's pretty much nothing. It's just Marcus Smart being the fiery competitor that he is.
No, that's Jimmy Butler getting in people's heads, man. That's what the guy does.
Jimmy Butler's, man, I think Minnesota screwed up with that. They could have had Jimmy Butler. I think it's time they move on from Towns. Obviously, they aren't going anywhere with Towns. If they haven't in 5 years, I'd give it one more year. If he still can't produce, he's gone. And then I'd build around Russell and try and get another star.
Yeah, and here's my thought on that. My thought is that if you with this first pick, that if we go out and trade it and we get a guy like Devin Booker or Bradley Beal, and we have what they would call the big three, and if Cat continues to disappear in the offense and doesn't play defense, yeah, I agree, move on from the guy. But if you can bring in another guy who can sum up that perimeter shooting along with D'Lo, and you can get Cat back down low, crashing boards, rebounding, protecting the rim, and get another couple guys around him and have a good solid bench, which Minnesota last year had a very good bench towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And this is time where Cat, like I said, if they end up trading away that first pick in the draft and get a guy like Booker or Beal, and they come in and he just, continues to do what Cat does, I agree. Get rid of the guy. He's not worth our time. So
Yeah. My biggest issue with him is he's too soft to be playing in the post, and his defense, which coming out of Kentucky, they were saying he was a good defender. Yes, he's actually a good perimeter defender, but his work on the block and anywhere in the post is just really bad. He just gets bullied down low.
Well, it's like you talked last episode, the guy needs to put on some muscle. I think he needs one-on-one time with Vanderpool, and I think Vanderpool kind of needs to, be rough with him and be like, this is what we need you to start doing down low for us.
Yeah.
And really drill that into his head and be like, this is what we don't need you out at the three-point line shooting threes. Leave that to D'Lo and the other guards, and give him film of, Kevin Garnett and what Kevin Garnett did when he was a Timberwolf. A guy who would, protect the rim, block shots, rebound. A guy who could do everything. Minnesota needs a guy like what we used to have in Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, well, I don't get it. When Kevin Garnett was here, he was this fired up, tough guy who literally was just playing good defense, good offense. And then once Kevin Garnett left, it just went downhill. And then when Jimmy Butler showed up and, embarrassingly beat all the starters with the third strings, things just got even worse for Towns. And now it's at a point where he's kind of going into becoming a baby now if he doesn't get the ball.
It kind of sounds like like what Wiggins used to do. just kind of hide and let the
Yep.
team do what the team's going to do. And I don't know. I believe in Rosas. I think he's going to do what he thinks needs to be done with his team. So
Yeah, and I saw they got to keep Gupta, one of their executives who was in the running for the Kings job. Um, he stays in Minnesota. I guess he contacted some of the Kings reporters and said the guy they got is perfect for the job, really great guy, stuff like that. I'm just glad we kept them. I think him and Rosas together can be pretty good.
right. Yeah, I think this may. I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't think Ryan Saunders is the coach to be coaching Towns. I think if we want Towns to get to his potential, we need a guy like um, D'Antoni to come in and really push this team and get after Towns, because that's what KG did when KG was here. That's why he was, Cat was who he was. He had somebody after him. So
I think Van Gundy would be another good coach to bring in. Worked with Dwight Howard. I mean, locally turned Dwight Howard into three straight Defensive Player of the Year awards. He pretty much single-handedly brought Orlando to the finals. I mean, in his prime, Dwight Howard was arguably the best center since Shaq.
yeah, I have a feeling that if Minnesota, like I said, brings in a third star onto this team, and they don't do anything, I think Saunders will be the first to go.
Yeah, and I mean, it's unfortunate. I think Saunders is truly a good coach. Um, I mean, he's still learning. Uh, never had experience as a head coach. Obviously, lots of experience as an assistant coach. I feel like part of the reason he got the job was because of the death of his dad. Um, I also believe part of it also, well, most of it was that he truly wasn't a good assistant coach. Um, always worked with the players, was good at the G League team in the summer league, all that.
Right. There's another name out there who used to coach the Golden State Warriors, who I wouldn't mind having either, is Mark Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, he literally built that Warriors dynasty, but the thing with him is they weren't quite ready yet to be competing for titles, and he got the short end of the stick, and he was forced out. And obviously, they brought in Steve Kerr, turned into an absolute dynasty. Uh, with them going to be fully healthy now, I think they're just going to be right back in it again.
Yeah, and like Stephen A. Smith said, a guy like Mark Jackson deserves another chance at a head coaching job because of what he did in Golden State.
Yeah. I also, speaking of Stephen A. Smith, I also want to point out his comment about how Paul George is pretty much at this point starting to become Dwight Howard. I think what people are saying that he's stupid because Dwight Howard is great. What he was saying is he's becoming what Dwight Howard was in his first stint in LA, where Dwight Howard struggled. Obviously, Dwight Howard wasn't the greatest in that first stint. He went to Houston, did well. Atlanta, in Charlotte. Obviously, neither of those places worked out very well. Now he's back in LA, and he's looked really good.
Well, and like we've talked about before, you have a guy like LeBron James um, who has a track record of winning, and Dwight Howard follows winning, man, just like everybody else does. So,
Um, Other NBA news, Kevin Love recently wrote an article about dealing with anxiety and depression. He's a guy who, over the years, has been very open about his struggle with anxiety and depression. I think it's good that there's guys out there who are stepping up and showing that they're human and they aren't just these robots that are meant to be out there and only play basketball.
right, and you have these guys who have the platforms that can, reach people who are having these issues. It's great. And I really think that Kevin Love is a great advocate for it. So,
Well, and then earlier, I think it was last week, Dak Prescott spoke out, said after the death of his brother and the whole quarantine thing with the start of COVID, he was experiencing depression, and of course, Smith, Skip Bayless comes out and trashes him for showing emotion, saying that he's the quarterback for America's team, and if he's showing emotion, team's going to use that against him, and he can't be depressed.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with Skip Bayless, but you shouldn't dog anybody who is afraid to show emotion. I mean, we're humans. It's part of who we are.
Exactly.
So, game one of the Western Conference Finals is tonight. Lakers versus Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets, have put on a show in the bubble, and they're a very impressive team. So,
Yeah, I think Denver has a chance. Obviously, can't count them out. Down 3-1, round 1 and 2 of the playoffs. Come back, win both series. Never counting them out, obviously, but I think they take one, probably 2 games at most. And Lakers advance to the finals, and obviously, whoever they face, I think it'll be a good matchup.
yeah, I ultimately believe it's going to be LA Heat. I think that Miami has too much momentum right now to not make it. Jimmy Butler is playing out of his mind. They're a very defensive team. Eric Spoelstra's, got that team winning again, and he's doing it without guys like LeBron. So,
Yeah, I'd like to see Boston win just because I'd like to see the Boston LA rivalry reignited again like it was in the late 2000s, early 2010s. That was always a good rivalry. KG and Kobe going head to head. 2 guys who really not afraid to get in your head.
right. Well, you heard that when KG wanted out of Minnesota, that he ended up calling Kobe, and Kobe never answered the phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. I know.
Yeah, he wanted to go to LA and he wanted to play with Kobe. that was an article I read. I'm not sure. I can't remember where I read it, but yeah, there's rumors out there that he called LA because he wanted to go play with Kobe. So
Yeah, I know. Back-to-back drafts they could have had KG and Kobe. Towards the end, Flip Saunders was asked about why they didn't take Kobe Bryant. What he said, it makes a lot of sense, but in the end, obviously, hindsight's 2020. He said, coming off of drafting a high school guy and developing KG, he thought it would be like extra double hard work to be developing two young high school prospects. Uh, Instead, they took Ray Allen, which if they would have kept him, that would have been a great pick. But they traded him to Milwaukee for who Milwaukee drafted, which was Stephon Marbury. Marbury ended up in Minnesota for a while. Obviously, he was part of that team that went to the Western Conference Finals too.
yeah, I would have really liked to see Kobe and KG on the same team together. You know,
Or even KG and Ray Allen.
Yeah, I mean, even like outside of the All-Star games, and KG and Ray Allen were on the same team together in Boston. So
Yeah.
You know, KG got mad at Ray Allen because Ray Allen left to go play for Miami, and you know, I don't know if that relationship or friendship had ever gotten better after that, but oh my God. Oh,
You okay?
yeah, my fucking chair just broke. Ouch. Take two. Please cut this up. Please cut that part out.
Yeah, I will. Other not NBA, other NFL news. Michael Thomas is yet to practice this week. He has a high ankle sprain. They think he's for sure going to miss Monday. Could miss up to 3 weeks. Obviously, he's still lobbying to play tonight, or not tonight, Monday night. Hopefully, he's out. I'd like to see the Saints struggle. Not a big Saints fan after Bountygate, but I also don't want the Buccaneers to win that division. Not a Brady fan. So,
yeah, that's a tough one because I'm not a Tom Brady fan either, and I never really liked the Saints. But you know, at the end of the year, it's going to be one of those two teams that's going to ultimately win the division. So,
oh yeah, that division could be really competitive with those two in Atlanta. I don't think Carolina has the talent to compete, but I think they could be. I think they could be middle of the pack team.
I agree 100%.
Bill Belichick yesterday was asked about his opponent on Sunday, Russell Wilson. He pretty much complimented Russell Wilson, calling him one of the more underrated players by fans or media, and saying that right now he doesn't see any player that's better than him. And sadly for Russell Wilson, he has yet to receive an MVP vote in his career, even though 2 years ago he was responsible for over 95% of the team's touchdowns. I don't know how that doesn't garner an MVP vote, but I guess it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the guy came out of college, and everybody's like, "Oh, you know, he's too small to play quarterback. He's not going to make it in the league." Well, he led Seattle to Super Bowl and ultimately won it with Seattle. He's been one of, if not the top quarterback in the NFL. The guy can play football, man, and I'm really happy to see that, he's getting praise from a guy like Bill Belichick. So
Yeah, I'd also like to point out that when he was drafted, there were people who actually thought Matt Flynn would beat him out for the starting job.
I remember that.
Matt Flynn got overpaid for 3 games. That's just insane.
Yeah, and now Russell Wilson is, one of the highest paid athletes in the NFL right now. That's ultimately going to change with the Patrick Mahomes contract, but right now he is one of the highest paid players in the NFL. So
Yeah.
and it's well deserved by the guy. The guy's worked hard his whole career for it. So
Yeah, it's just like he has literally worked his butt off. He's done it the right way. And I mean, look what he's done with Seattle. They're a perennial contender just because of him.
right.
Moving on to the Vikings for the last of the NFL news. Guard Pat Elflein was moved to the IR last night with a thumb injury. No corresponding move has been made. Cornerback Cameron Dancer has yet to practice this week with a rib injury. Cornerback Jeff Gladney has been a full participant in practice all week with a knee injury. And yesterday they announced they signed former Bengals and Vikings safety George Iloka to the practice squad. Currently, Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris are the only 2 safeties on the roster. I would expect a corresponding move sometime today in relation to Elflein going to the IR.
Yeah, and I could see them bringing George Iloka in, putting him on the 53-man roster as like a slot guy. He doesn't necessarily need to play safety. I mean, he can play, that second or third receiver, whether it be on a nickel package or, something like that. So, he doesn't necessarily have to play safety.
Well, the nice thing is it'll be a veteran voice in the locker room, somebody who has spent years and years under Zimmer, understands Zimmer's defense inside and out. I mean, perfect guy to bring in and help the young guys out.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to college football, 42 University of Wisconsin football players have had COVID at some point. Obviously, the hope is that they don't contract it again. Ohio State cornerback Sean Wade and guard Wyatt Davis are looking to return to Ohio State now that the Big Ten season is back on. I believe neither have signed with an agent, so they are eligible to return.
Please, Rashad, back to Minnesota.
Moving on to college basketball. They will start the regular season November 25th. They're cutting it by 4 games this year. No exhibition or scrimmages all year, and no recruiting visits until January 1st.
Doesn't matter. The Gophers aren't really going to do much anyway, so.
No, they lost like all their talent. They're bound to struggle. It's just going to be a repeat of what it normally is. They have 2 or 3 decent years, and they have 2 or 3 years where they're horrible.
Hey, at least DeMarcus Carter is coming back.
Yeah, that's always a positive. Moving on to the MLB, Jake Arrieta is done for the regular season. He suffered a hamstring injury. In 9 starts this year, he has a 5.08 ERA. I doubt Philly's missing much with him.
Yeah, and I don't know if age is catching up to him, but I remember when he was pitching for Chicago, the guy was lights out.
Yeah, and it was weird because when he was pitching with Baltimore, I think he was pitching from the first base side, and he was really bad, and that's why Baltimore was so willing to part with him. And somebody with the Cubs told him, well, why don't you try sliding across the rubber to the other side from the third base side, and just dominated.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, he was with Chicago the year that Chicago won the World Series, and he was pitching lights out for that team. And now he's in Philly. He's struggling really bad, and it's sad to see.
Let's see what's next. The Mariners and Padres series, scheduled to be in Seattle, was moved to San Diego due to air quality concerns up in Seattle. I know the NFL is considering moving games this week on the West Coast due to air quality concerns, but their threshold is if it reaches 200 or higher, that's when they decide to move the games.
Yeah, and that's the air quality thing it's scary right now with the fires going on in California. It's spreading all through the West Coast right now, and it's sad. It's difficult to watch.
It really is. I mean, they're literally requesting help from anyone that can send people. Like, I know Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, just states everywhere are sending crews over to the West Coast to help fight wildfires.
Well, and the
I know
sad thing,
as of a couple of weeks ago, they said it was the second most damaging wildfire in California history.
well, and the sad thing too is that they're not getting any help from the federal government.
No, that's the really sad part. There's so much the federal government can help with, and they just aren't getting the help they need. But thankfully, these other states are willing to send people in to help because right now they need as many hands on deck as they can get.
I agree.
And for the last bit of news, both the Rays and the White Sox clinched a playoff spot yesterday. Both teams won their games. In the White Sox game, for the Twins, Byron Buxton hit 2 home runs, and Josh Donaldson hit 1. And after his home run, Josh Donaldson was ejected from the game for kicking dirt on home plate. Earlier in the at-bat, he had been arguing balls and strikes with the ump, and just had enough of him and said, "You're out of here."
The guy cracks me up, man. He's funny. No, it started from his first at bat. With a bad pitch called on the outside. He wasn't happy about it. We got that same pitch in his second at bat, and said something to the ump about it. Rocco came out and tried to defuse the situation. Very next pitch, Donaldson just blasted one over the fence. I think took his anger out on the ball, and then got the home plate, and I think ultimately what he was trying to do is he was trying to slide his foot across home plate.
That's what it looked like.
I don't think he was trying to kick dirt on the plate, and I think he ultimately missed the plate and went back to go touch the plate, and the umpire just threw him out after that. And like they were saying on the Power Trip Morning Show this morning, umpires are some of the biggest crybabies out there. I'm sorry to anybody who's an umpire, but I don't think Josh Donaldson should have been ejected from the game yesterday.
No, that was the ump trying to make a power move. I think it was really stupid. It was really childish that ump. Yeah, it did look like he missed home plate because obviously he immediately went back and he touched home plate and then kind of cleaned it off and It looked like he kind of kicked a tiny bit of dirt on the plate, and that's what pissed off the ump and got him to eject him, which I think that was really stupid. It's dirt. It's not like he's spitting on you.
Yeah. Or he's not. Oh, he's not Odell Beckhaming you.
That's all I have for today. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I do not, but it looks like the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning are in the Stanley Cup Finals.
And that concludes the bet for Hockey and Parrish. Hockey lost. Both those are teams that Mark Parrish played for. So Parrish and Meat Sauce get, so I think it's $20 from Hockey.
Huh. Hockey's always losing his money, man.
I know.
All right, everybody. Well, that's gonna wrap up our show for today. Tanner, thank you for joining us. Or thank you for being here again and everything that you do for the show.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody, make sure you go help out the Mad Fanatic with his feeding the veterans. It's a great cause, and I think everybody should help out.
I would agree. All right. And everybody, that'll conclude it. Ian, thank you for having me.
Yeah.